Good morning and a very warm welcome to our first ever school assembly for all of the schools in the Diocese of Oxford. My name is Tony Wilson and I am the Director of Education for the Diocese of Oxford. We've got a programme this morning which involves some students delivering some readings from the Bible, music performed by students at Waddesdon School, and also there's going to be a talk delivered by the Bishop of Oxford, the Right Reverend Dr. Stephen Croft. But before I hand over to Bishop Stephen for some prayer and some stilling, I'd just like to say how proud I am of the way in which you and your schools have responded to the challenges of COVID-19. Clearly, this is a very worrying time for you and your parents and your teachers and support staff, but you've responded incredibly well. And I also need to say that you're in our thoughts and prayers for the forthcoming half-term holiday and also for the potential return to school for many of you during the second part of the summer term. But now I'm delighted to hand over to Bishop Stephen, who is going to lead us in some prayer and some stilling.
Welcome to our assembly. It's really great. You could join us wherever you are watching from. We're going to begin by lighting our Easter candle. It was Ascension Day yesterday, and we're still in the Easter season when we remember the truth that Christ is risen from the dead. And we're going to start our assembly by taking a moment to be still and quiet and peaceful. Sometimes there's so much going on around us and inside us that it's really important to stop and listen and be still. So find a place where you can sit still, if possible on a chair with your feet on the floor. Put your hands in your lap. And when you're ready, close your eyes. You might want to take a moment to remember in the quietness that God made you and God loves you. Psalm 46 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I am God. Take a moment now to become aware of your breathing. Take a long, slow breath in. Then breathe out slowly and gently. As you breathe out, imagine breathing out all that feels difficult or heavy or sharp about this time, and let it go. And as you breathe in again, inhale the sweet air, and you might ask God for His strength and peace with you now. Just take a moment to become aware of the noises around you in your room. What are they like? Loud or quiet? Sharp or gentle? What about the noises beyond the room, in the world outside? And what about any noise within you? Try to become aware of what you're feeling and thinking. What's on your mind? Are you worried and concerned? Are you relaxed and peaceful? Psalm 46 invites us to be at rest and to be still and to be aware of God's love. Be still and know that I am God. And please open your eyes now, and thank you for joining me in this short time of stilling. We're going to listen now to our story from the Bible, the story of David and Goliath.
The young hero and the horrible giant. David and Goliath from 1 Samuel 17. God's people had some scary enemies, but the Philistines were the scariest of them all. And now the Philistines had come to fight them. The Philistines had a secret weapon called Goliath. Goliath was a terrifying soldier, and worst of all, a giant. A giant so strong and so tall and so scary that no one had ever been able to fight him and live to tell the tale. So there they were, the Philistines standing on the top of one hill, God's people standing on top of another. Every day Goliath came out and shouted, "Send your best soldier to fight me. If he wins, we will be your slaves, but if I win, you will be our slaves." No one spoke, no one moved. "Chickens," Goliath bellowed, "your God can't save you. I'll rip your heads off and have you on toast." His beady, greedy eyes glowered at them hungrily from under his horrible helmet, as if any minute he really might just gobble them all up. And he laughed his terrible laugh. "Ha, ha, ha, ha," it boomed, echoing horribly around and around the dry valley. Well, Goliath might just as well have been a green, slimy monster with 3 heads, because God's people froze with fear. Their eyes glazed over and they turned deathly pale. They knew if someone didn't do something quick, if someone didn't save them, but God would do something. He would send someone to save them. Now you remember that David was the youngest son of Jesse. Well, his brothers were soldiers in the army. One day, when David brought his brothers their lunches, he saw Goliath, and he saw how scared everyone was. "Don't be afraid," David said. "I'll fight him for you." "You're only a little shepherd boy," the king said, "and Goliath is a great soldier. How will you fight him?" "God will help me," David said. So the king gave David his royal armor to wear, but it was too heavy and too big, and David couldn't even walk. "I won't need this," David said. Instead, David picked out 5 smooth stones from the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Took his slingshot and walked towards Goliath. Step, step, step. Goliath walked towards David. Thud, thud, thud. "You?" Goliath peered down at the small boy. "I'm little," David shouted up to him. "But God is great." Goliath laughed, an even terribler laugh than usual. "Ha, ha, 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 ha," it went. With just one swing of his giant sword, Goliath could finish the boy off. But David kept going. "It isn't how strong you are, or how many swords and spears you have that will save you. It is God who saves you. This is God's battle, and God always wins his battles." David put a stone in his sling, swung it around and let it go. The little stone flew whiz like a bullet through the air and struck Goliath, thud, right between the eyes. Goliath stopped laughing. He stumbled and staggered and crash, fell dead. When the Philistines saw Goliath was dead, they ran away. And when God's people saw them running away, they cheered. God had saved his people. David was a hero. Many years later, God would send his people another young hero to fight for them and to save them. But this hero would fight the greatest battle the world has ever known.
Well, I hope you're well and that you and your family are well in this really hard time. Some of us will be missing our friends. Some of us will be sad because of illness. Some of us will be missing our schools and familiar places and our teachers. And some of us will be worried about the future. It's a really hard season. But I love the story of David and Goliath. I want you to imagine yourself in David's shoes today. David has gone to visit his brothers in the army. His job in the family was to keep the sheep. but for a day he gets to go and take some food to his brothers who are soldiers. There's going to be a battle soon. A great big giant called Goliath is coming out to fight them. David offers to take on Goliath single-handed, but his brothers and all the army just laugh at David. But he keeps going. Lots of us are facing giants today. There's a great big giant called sickness. He's a nasty one. There's a giant called loneliness, dark and shadowy. There's a giant called worry, who kind of creeps up behind you when you're not expecting him. And there's a giant called arguments, who upsets us whenever he can. You might be able to think of some more giants that you're facing now. Facing down those giants is really, really hard. We want to run away, we want to hide. David doesn't do that. David is courageous. That means he has a big, strong heart. When God was choosing David to be the king of all Israel, God said that it was because of what was on the inside of David, his spirit and his heart, where God sees, that made him choose this person to be the king. He has a big, big heart. David remembers, as he thinks about stepping out to fight Goliath, all the times that God has helped him in the past. David remembers the quiet times and peaceful places where God has spoken to him and strengthened him. David remembers that God cares for him just like a shepherd looking after the sheep. So David finds the courage not to run away and not to hide. Instead, he thinks really, really hard about how to beat this giant. He puts down Saul's armor, which is too big for him and too uncomfortable. He goes down to the brook and he finds 5 smooth stones and probably as well a moment to be by himself and remember God's love. And then he runs out to face Goliath, carrying just his sling. But he runs out knowing that God is with him. I wonder what you could make to remind you of all the good things in this life that help you to be courageous and have a big heart. You might want to draw a picture of those things, or find some glue and a big piece of paper and make a collage and hang it on your wall. You might find a special heart-shaped box and put inside the box all the things and all the people that make you strong. I love making Lego. And I made this Lego model a few weeks ago of my house and my garden to remind me of my home and my family and some of the things that help me to be brave in this really difficult time. What's yours, I wonder? And what would you put in your model or in your picture or in your heart-shaped box? David wrote special songs that we call psalms. And David put into these special songs all of the longings in his heart and everything that made him strong. We're going to listen now to one of those psalms, Psalm 23, based on David's life. The Lord is my shepherd. Listen carefully to the words and think about the different things that give us courage and about God who loved David and who loves us. And may God be with you as you listen to this psalm. Thank you so much for joining us for this assembly. Our final prayer. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. And may God be with you and your family in this season until we meet again.